Hey, it's Alex Williams, the new stack here at the Cloud Foundry Summit in Basel, Switzerland with Kim Bannerman of Google. Kim, how are you?
I'm good, Alex. How are you?
I think we first met when you were at CenturyLink.
Yes, two companies ago.
Yeah, 2 companies ago. And now, tell us about your role at Google.
I joined back in May to kind of solve a little bit of a connection problem that we were having. A lot of our developer advocates and developer program engineers are super talented in their SMEs in their various areas. And our sales engineers and sales pods really are talking to some amazing customers, and they want to know how they can utilize those folks for their subject matter expertise and their knowledge. And so I've spent the first however many months this has been so far getting to know a lot of people on various teams and kind of helping build programs and teams around supporting our bigger customers. So
what are those programs that you're working on, you're building?
So we come in and we talk with the customer, and it's really in a phase where it's developer to developer, engineer to engineer, and they're trying to solve various business problems, and they're trying out different tools. They're evolving their culture, and so our DAs like Kelsey and some of the other ones come in and they do kind of a workshop format. It's very interactive, and it's less slides and more. I always laugh and say we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So we come in and we listen to kind of their problems and things like that, and we kind of go through a lot of the things together. And it's been super helpful for them to iterate faster.
And you're doing this, as you said, to help get the Google developers actually into the customers, get them out and seeing the customers and having them talk to the customers, correct?
Right. And kind of a cool thing that's happened with these types of workshops is our customers are becoming our advocates for the various products and open source tooling inside of GCP. So I love seeing that personally, because that's how you know that it's working. Now we're on scale, trying to scale it.
What are customers saying? What are you hearing from customers when your developers are going out and talking to them?
Our customers are really interested in learning more about machine learning, especially.
Really?
TensorFlow is a huge topic for us lately. And then containers and Kubernetes and GKE, those are our other big topics of the bigger customers.
How are they? What are they asking about machine learning? What are some of the particular problems they're trying to solve? What are they trying to train, I guess, so to speak? Yeah.
We're talking to a customer where they want voice recognition built into an application, and it's a customer-facing, public-facing type of a project that they're building. I can't really talk a ton about it, but so that's very interesting, and they're coming to us and they're going through training once we've done a workshop, and they're doing POCs, and they go through the training and everything, and I just see light bulbs turn on, and I feel like they're upping their value. They're really switching from a fixed mindset inside of a customer, like these are 100-year-old companies, right? Some of them, to a growth mindset. So it's. To me, it's all about the people. So it's very makes me feel like we're doing the right things. So
what brings you here then? What brings you to the Cloud Foundry Summit?
This is my community. So I've been part of the community before we had a foundation, and have run user groups and try to source speakers back when we could barely find speakers, and now it's an awesome thing to have. We have tons of speakers and not enough slots. Not always the case, but I'm here because I've been coming since 2015, I guess, and it's really a community that I've seen grow over time. So supporting Google here.
What's the importance for Cloud Foundry in the Google community now?
Yeah, Cloud Foundry is something that a lot of our larger customers feel like is a tool that they can use to build applications faster, and it's a tool that helps them change culture and ultimately ends up in a more of a DevOps culture, and some of them are even moving to SRE and CRE type principles because of these new applications. So
how are you seeing that?
12-factor apps, the way that SRE works, and not every product inside of Google uses SRE, the way that works is you have to have very little toil and high uptime. And if you're building features and you've got downtime, you basically have an error budget. And once you get there, you're not allowed to build anything new until like you kind of fix what you have that's going on. That's like a high level, I should say. But so we're seeing customers really start to understand that, and so often, even now, we've got systems folks on one side of the fence and, developers on another side of the fence, and it was always, their problem, and they were really involved. And we've really, I think we spend so much time arguing about what level of abstraction our customers should focus on, when really there's so many customers we talk to every day that are just trying to get to cloud still.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I think Cloud Foundry is a good place for that.
Yeah, that came up in the discussions this morning about just getting to the cloud, and actually I've had discussions with a lot of other people about this, and so I guess the question for me is, how are you in your role job trying to help that developer experience? How are you trying to enhance a developer? What is Google trying to do to enhance a developer experience?
Right. We have over 50 people that are developer advocates, DPs, on our Cloud DevRel team alone.
And those are the ones you're working with to get out there.
Yeah, and they're SMEs in all types of areas. I mean, you name it. We've got Go and Python and Node and more enterprise level folks they've been focused a lot on storage and infrastructure and operations, not just Kubernetes. We have a lot of Kubernetes, obviously, folks that understand that too, and we're growing like crazy. And so that's knowledge that, these devs and engineers and systems folks, they need to hear kind of like the day-to-day. So
how do you then delineate, between Kubernetes and Cloud Foundry, because they are becoming increasingly bound to some degree, but loosely coupled in many respects, right? But how do you personally make that connection?
Yeah. I have a customer, Kelsey and I actually visited them back in June, and they just had we were talking about Kubernetes, and they also brought up Cloud Foundry in the same meeting and said, hey, we've been trying it for about 4 weeks now. So far, so good. We're getting there. We're kind of getting the hang of it. And so same team, trying out 2 different tools, right? 2 different projects. So it just depends on, I think, the people you have on your team and what they're comfortable with using and then what they're trying to do. So just like I'm probably Sarah, and a lot of people are going to say this week, it's we all, complementary communities and different use cases, and it's just a customer choice is what it is. So
right. So when you're talking to developers, when you're developer advocates internally, and you're discussing topics that I see as important to Google and other companies, this idea that the cloud really can be anywhere, right? It doesn't matter if you have a data center of your own or if you're using a public cloud service or in third-party services. The cloud is the cloud is everywhere, but in many respects, it's still about connecting those pieces together.
Right.
How do you guys work with each other to help tell that story effectively? Because it does come down to how does a cloud service abstract, right? And how do you? And so you must have these conversations about different layers of abstraction. Yeah.
It gets down to the teams, right? I mean, different teams need different things. And when you're talking about really high performant applications that really do need to be housed, in different places, and not just fail over or whatever. That's why I think Google has the best team to kind of help them do that. And that's not necessarily our developer advocate team. Those are more like solutions architect teams. Yeah. Miles Ward and those folks, and they're the ones that architect the solutions that really are. I'm astounded by what all of our team does every day. I have to say, it's pretty powerful, and they're doing things that I don't think any of us have seen. So
interesting. So what is your what is your ongoing focus going to be? Is it going to be working with the Cloud Foundry community on, Cloud Foundry on Bosch and the new Cloud Foundry container runtime? Is it, or is it more just a much more, it seems like it's a much broader kind of responsibility.
Right, yeah. I definitely have, my main focus right now is our customers and helping make sure that we've got, the right folks are going and helping them from the DevRel community. I do have to have my feet in open source in the communities that I'm in, and I will always do that with Cloud Foundry, Kubernetes. Probably those are my main 2. The Go community is amazing too. So wherever our customers are, I mean, I like to hear kind of how they're using our various things in the open source world too.
So how is Google changing in your view then? How is Google changing from an enterprise perspective and from a cloud native perspective, where Google is so well known for being an advertising platform, right? Mm-hmm. And the Google Cloud Group, I've been familiar with it for years, but it doesn't necessarily have the profile internally as as Android, for example, right? So, what is the trajectory that you're seeing Google take now that will make the Google Cloud Platform become such a vital part of the customer story?
Yeah, for the larger customers, especially. I think we have important people that Diane has hired, that she's surrounding herself with inside the company, that are making a lot of the right decisions, especially on a partner ecosystems basis. So we're a big pivotal Cloud Foundry partner.
Yeah.
And so that's helped us a lot. There was a roadshow that happened this summer that I think 30-something cities, and my colleague Casey West was in every single one of them. So, and then part of the Kubo team went as well, which is Eric Johnson's Graphite team. And they were hearing a lot of great stories. And so I think we keep making investments and partnerships like that, and making it easier for our customers to be able to on-ramp on the cloud. I think that's the most important thing, especially for our larger customers. Cloud isn't easy for a lot of them. So if we can make that easier, I think that's what we're all trying to be focused on doing.
Right, because a lot of it's always been about, up until I think recently, just talking about gluing things together, right? And it seems like there's a change happening where it's not just about, it's not forcing, for the user to apply the glue, but almost applying the glue for them so they can connect these different things.
Right, agreed. And we're seeing more large customers contributing upstream now to open source too. And Google's doing a kind of a unique thing where we make it easy for you to run open source on GCP. I mean, there are teams that is their sole responsibility, right? I mean, it's under Eric Johnson is one of the teams, so they work on Ansible and Chef and Puppet and all these other things, HashiCorp, all the different tools there, and then Cloud Foundry. But we are not, while we may have a product that's more opinionated, and yes, you pay for that, that's not our that's not necessarily our model across the board. We want you to be able to run these open source tools just as easy on GCP. So that's huge. That's different than the other cloud companies where I've been. So
yeah, that speaks to the that need to to make the developer experience even better. With Cloud Foundry in particular, I think one of the things that is noteworthy today is they were saying that how 40% of the members are end users, right? Mm-hmm. And those end users then are helping drive actually new members into the community,
right?
And we're starting to see this almost like this supply chain emerge, right? Where there's these companies that are kind of at the hub, and then they're influencing other companies, and they kind of become part of that hub, and they influence other companies. How are you seeing that evolve?
I see that in customers every day. When you get one team that wants to try out a new tool, and they get so excited about it, and they're starting to have small wins, and if you flip it from failing to learning, then that it helps you with the growth mindset, and it really goes back to that. And they share their knowledge with these teams so fast inside the company that if you're a salesperson right now, I mean, that's like a perfect storm, right? And then, like you said, like in the community, those things happen at grassroots level, like at meetups, or if it's a small world like where I'm from in Atlanta, I know that, customers that I used to have are talking to other, folks, and, Turner Broadcasting's talking to Weather Channel and, Auto Trader, or whatever these similar companies are. And so they share those at meetups, or they share those, because, hey, I used to work there, and now, I got to tell my buddy about what we're doing over here. It's pretty cool. And so it starts happening organically, right? And so you really don't need when it's a good tool and it's a good developer experience, then it just spreads. So
what's the importance then for Google, with the Cloud Foundry Foundation and the CNCF and these other foundations, such as, the Node.js, foundation? What's the importance?
So I think that's definitely a question for Sarah. We were just talking earlier. It's important for Google to be a supporter, not just
maybe I should rephrase it for like from your perspective, because I don't want to put you in that role of like speaking for Sarah.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, like for the customers, like when you're out there talking to customers, what is the context there? Is there much, but is it more just the fact that you're part of the community and you're supporting it?
You know, I think there's conversations that happen at the board level and at the steering committee level and things like that, where we're able, as our larger companies are able to bring in that customer feedback and help like steer the steering committee. And so just because you're part of CNCF and you're this company and you're a sponsor company, you have a seat on the board, doesn't mean that you're having the same experience and the same customers, and they may be seeing something unrelated in different projects that Google will be, right? And so I think that's where you get the huge value there. And plus it unifies folks, right? Because I think some vendors come in going, hey, they're our competition. We're really, it should just be about the community. We want to make this better for our customers, right? So in some respects, you're out there helping kind of like build the feedback loop, aren't you? Yeah, I think that's hugely important. And that's something we did when Sam joined Google almost a year ago. We are directly tied to product, and that's product improvement and customer experience are huge, and to measure that impact. So that's kind of something that innately we always have in the back of our minds. Yeah. So how do you guys treat that? So if you're out talking to customers, or if Casey's on a 30-city tour, that feedback has to flow into the product. Right. And then also it has to flow to these open source foundations, which are kind of building out, which are responsible for taking that feedback and working with the maintainers to them, to continue the trajectory. Right, exactly. And I think that's how projects like Kubo get started. Someone said, hey, what about Kubernetes? Can we do that, with Cloud Foundry? And that was some direct customer feedback. Hey, I'm already using it, like, can we build this thing? So, and I'm not as familiar with the long history of how that happened, but that's the gist of it. So. Right. So thus, it's important to be here, because then because your work out on the road, your work on the ground, kind of like surfaces up to this place really here. And that's so what open source is. It's like it's not it's many hands make light work, right? And you can scale a lot faster using your community and like agreeing on a common goal than if one company just builds it super opinionated in a vacuum somewhere. So. Yeah, I mean, I guess you can see it in kind of like announcements that you see today then, right? I mean, that has to be based upon feedback that you're receiving in the community, because, I mean, imagine like, going out and talking about Kubo, people might say, well, okay, is that like Kubernetes? And you say, well, that's Kubernetes on Bosch. Yeah. But if you keep a focus on container runtimes and, and application architectures and running it on Bosch, that's a story that they've been hearing, and they can relate to that. Exactly. Yeah. Well, Kim, thank you so much for taking some time. I feel like I've learned something here, which I love. Yeah, and thanks for having me. It's always good to see y'all. Great, thanks. Cool.